What is up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be talking all about 5-star champions and what are the kind of best 5-star champions that you can hope for in crystals in the game. Now this guide is obviously kind of aimed at newer players who are kind of getting close to their first 5-star hero crystal, or maybe their second, and are wondering, you know, what is a good pull from a 5-star hero crystal. But obviously the first thing that I want to talk about is there are actually two types of 5-star hero crystal in the game. There is the one that you buy for 10,000 shards, and there's also the one that you buy for 15,000 shards. Now, the one that you buy for 15,000 shards, initially, when you look at it, does seem a little bit misleading. So the 15,000 one, the only difference is it is exactly the same as the 10,000 one. However, it will also have whatever featured hero that is advertised in as well in the pool of 18 champions. So it makes it a pool of 19 champions instead. However, the drop rate for that champion, that specific champion, is still very, very low. So, for example, you know, I've seen people buy, like, I don't know, 5 of these and still not get the champion that they were after, the featured one. So they are a massive, massive gamble and are definitely not suggested for newer players because they are 5,000 shards more expensive, and most of the time the champions in them, you know, aren't super great. There are some that might be worth going for if you really, really like the champion, or if you already have like loads of great 5-star champions, then, you know, you might want to go for them. But as a newer player, pretty much 9 out of 10 times you do want to just go for the 5-star hero crystal. Now, with that in mind, let's talk about all the 18 champions that are available in this hero crystal. So I did a little bit of a ranking of these champions and where, you know, to me, where they kind of fit in the game and what they're good for. So I'm just going to quickly bring that onto the screen now. So this is my little spreadsheet, and bear in mind, guys, this is kind of my thoughts and opinions on it, but obviously I'm going to explain it. So I've put them into 3 different tiers. So there's tier number 1, which are champions that I believe are amazing. If you get one of these champions, then they have a use in the game which they are like top tier for. So those champions are Star-Lord, Magic, and Spider-Man. Now, all of these 3 champions rely on them being duped, and with a lot of the 5-star champions as well, a lot of the champions in the 5-star hero crystal, to actually be a really good champion, do rely on being a dupe. There are some, you know, that are quite good when you get them, but none of them are like super ultra amazing. None of them are like Doctor Strange, Crossbones, or X-23, you know, champions that you can just pull and straight away, without even being duped, they're a really great champion. I believe that a lot of the champions that you pull from 5-star crystals do heavily rely on being duped to actually be good. And most of the time, if you have a 4-star duped version of that champion in comparison to just a 5-star on its own, it's actually quite a lot better. But if you are very, very lucky enough to dupe a 5-star champion, this is kind of like the rankings that I've come up with, and I believe are kind of ish accurate and provide a good guideline. So let's talk about the number 1, the A tier, the almighty god tier champions. So we got Star-Lord. Star-Lord is so amazing. For every 10, when he's duped, for every tone combo hits, his damage goes up by a certain amount. So as you just keep on doing more and more combos, he's just going to deal more and more damage. Some of the first people to clear the Labyrinth of Legends used a 5-star Star-Lord that was duped. So yeah, just an absolutely amazing champion offensively. And now the next 2 champions are 2 champions that really, really excel in Alliance War defense. Both Magic and Spider-Man. So many people have a really, really tough time fighting Spider-Man, playing around that evade, and even when you have played around that evade, you still have the problem of putting him on unblockable level 1 nodes, and his level 1 is really, really tricky for a lot of players to reliably evade. So Spider-Man is just a god tier champion. You just chuck him on an unblockable level 1 node or an unstunnable node, and so many people will have a great amount of difficulty fighting him. And then we have Magic, who enters Limbo whenever she reaches like a bar of power, has quite a high chance based on her dupe ability, and also whenever she uses a special. So combine that with Mystic Dispersion, comparison, and basically she's going to be gaining power all the time, going into limbo every few seconds, and that's going to be dealing energy damage back to her attacker, which is going to be just slaughtering and eating through a lot of the opponent's health. So really, really great option for Alliance War defense. And then let's go with my pretty good tier. So these are the champions that are good, but maybe not like the best in any particular scenario, but you know, they're a good option. So we've got Magneto. Magneto is actually one of the champions that you don't really need to dupe to be good. His duped ability is helpful. It reduces the max amount of damage he can take from a single hit, but unduped he has quite a bit of damage, a very nice bleed, a heal block on his level 2, which is very useful, and deals energy damage, which allows him to bypass armor nodes. So Magneto, really good champion, good push. You should be happy if you get a Magneto, plus good for the synergies. And we have Storm. Storm, again, really good for the synergies. Her stun on her level 1 and 2 are really, really valuable and really fun to play around with. Really, really great champion. And when she's duped, she deals more damage on her level 1 and 2 abilities based on the amount of power that the opponent has. Also a level 3 as well. So overall, pretty good, pretty good. Cyclops is okay. He's pretty good unduped, but when you dupe this champion, he's going to become really, really good, dealing a lot of damage on that level 1. So if you are lucky enough to dupe it's the classic Cyclops, so in comparison he's slightly worse than the 90s one. However, if you dupe him, he's going to be a good champion, a really solid option. Then you have Juggernaut, who is really, I actually recently pulled a 5-star Juggernaut myself. The main use for this character, at least for me, is actually to support my crit team. The 5-star Juggernaut is part of the highest crit team in the game, so with that is just a supercharge to champions like Scarlet Witch and X-23 for dealing like amazing damage, and also, you know, with Scarlet Witch getting a ton of procs, and Scarlet Witch is one of the most you know, valuable champions in the game at the moment. She can be used to clear almost everything apart from the Labyrinth of Legends, where she's been gimped. So overall, Juggernaut's a pretty good pull, and when he's duped, he makes a really, really good Alliance War defender. However, in a lot of scenarios, Juggernaut you can like play around if you're a really good player, so that's why I value Magic and Spider-Man a lot more, because they are a lot more tricky to play around than Juggernaut. Then we have Black Panther. Black Panther is a decent champion unduped. When you dupe him, he becomes really, really good, especially in terms of his damage output. Not very good for defense, but he's a good offensive champion to play. A lot of bleed, synergizes well with deep wounds, so that's pretty good. And then we have Drax, a solid damage dealer, pretty good. You should be pretty happy if you get that champion. Drax is just a fun, aggressive champion to play. Yeah, not really too much to Drax, to be honest. Just a very, very simple champion, but good, fun offensive champion. And then we have Rhino. Rhino's quite good for Alliance War defense. Whenever he is charging, he is unstoppable, so whenever you're moving forward, which makes him really good on unstunnable nodes. Really annoying creature to fight on those nodes. But however, he's like not super, I'd say like he's worse than Magic and Spider-Man, because, you know, there are certain ways that you can play around him, and if you do have a champion like Captain America, then he's not really going to be too much of a problem for that, and a lot of people do use a Captain America for Alliance War attacks, so he's a little bit less hype than that. And then we have Ronan. So Ronan is a useful champion to have. His level 1, you can get infinite stun on a lot of enemies by doing the medium, double medium, and then medium, light, medium combo. You can just keep on spamming that level 1. And Ronan's really valuable because once you upgrade him a couple of times, then he is pretty much, I think, the only champion in the game that on his level 1 has a 100% chance to stun. So you can reliably just infinitely stun the enemy, which really makes him so good. Then we've got Iron Fist. Iron Fist is a pretty good champion, unduped, very similar to Drax in terms of his damage output, but when he's duped, gets a lot more armor breaks. So yeah, ridiculously powerful offensive champion. When he's duped with Despair, that's really, really good. And then we have Hawkeye. Hawkeye's power drain on his level 1 is really good. Hawkeye, you don't really need to be duped to be a super great champion. He doesn't really need to be duped to be a super great champion. So that's one of the little pros that he has going for him, and his his bleed when he's duped just kind of like adds a little bit to the character, not a super amount, but you know, it's a nice additional bit of damage overall. And then we have Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel, decent amount of damage output overall, and she's poison immune, which makes her really good. Ronan is also poison immune as well, but that makes her exceptionally good at the moment for activities like Chloe's Warriors of Awesomeness 2, where we have an Ultron that has poison, and it's really annoying to deal with because, you know, Captain Marvel, being a female character in this quest, gets a really huge bonus to her attack. So that's pretty good. And then finally we have Iron Man. I was tempted to actually put Iron Man in column 3. I think he's kind of bordering. He's not super great undupe, but when he's duped, his Arc Overload is pretty useful character for Alliance War defense. However, I don't think Iron Man is anywhere near as OP as he used to be, or good, due to the Despair Mastery, kind of, you know, wrecks a lot of the healing on him as a defensive champion in Alliance War defense, and when you're playing this champion offensively, doesn't really bring, like, too much to the table, but he's good for the Double Captain America, Iron Man, Superior Iron Man crit synergy team, so he does have a use there, so he's alright. You can't be too upset if you get that champion. And then in column number 3, we have Ant-Man. So Ant-Man is pretty terrible unduped. He's, yeah, pretty worthless unduped. But when he's duped, he's actually quite good for Alliance War defense. But again, you know, you do have to kind of rely on that champion being duped. Again, so it's a little bit hard to tell, I guess, because I have put some champions like Star-Lord. Star-Lord would probably be in column 2 or 3 if he wasn't duped, but the fact that he's just so OP when he's duped bumps him up. So I'd say Ant-Man is maybe bordering on moving to column 2 when he's duped. Does have a use in Alliance War defense. And then we have Iron Patriot. So Iron Patriot, just strictly worse version of Captain America. Iron Man, in my opinion. The problem with Iron Patriot really is that after he arc overloads, he gains, like, he loses a ton of his armor and takes a lot more damage. So after he's arc overloaded, he's really easy and quick to take down. And overall, just really don't like the character. Just think he's straight up worse version than Iron Man, and Iron Man is kind of like a worse version than Superior Iron Man, in my opinion. So yeah, he's kind of bottom of the food chain there, so comparatively a bit of a garbage champion. And then we have Winter Soldier. Again, not really that hype, not really that great unduped. The damage output just really isn't there. Very weak bleed on his level 1, his level 2's okay, but you much rather have like a Black Panther in most scenarios if you do want a skilled champion. So yeah, Winter Soldier, he's okay when he's duped, gets a power drain. But in comparison to some of the other champions, you know, he's not super hype in my opinion. So that is it, guys, for all the 5-star champions. I pretty much gave like a contextual use for every champion in the game, so I hope you enjoyed my thoughts and found it a little bit interesting. I don't think there's like any like super bad 5-star champion that you can get, apart from if you get Ant-Man on his own, or maybe, yeah, Iron Patriot. Iron Patriot's just terrible, and then Winter Soldier is not that great. So maybe there are some like bad champions, but there are a lot of good ones, so you do have a really good chance to get a decent champion. You just got to keep your fingers crossed for Spider-Man, Magic, and Star-Lord. Those are the 3 champions that you want, because they are just so amazing in my opinion. So ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed watching this video and my insight into, you know, the 5-star champions in the game at the moment. I think it's probably likely that we're going to be seeing some more 5-star champions added to this pool of 18 probably in like a month or 2. It's been about 4 months since they increased the pool, so yeah, I expect that it's going to be expanded sometime soon. So ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this video, feel free to leave a like, that'd be greatly appreciated. If you're new to the channel, guys, feel free to subscribe, that'd be awesome. Apart from that, guys, take care, and I hope that you have an absolutely fantastic day.